This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show here with you till the top of the hour over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Love the fact that my Yankees are in the postseason. They're still 3 games behind Boston. 89-69 record, but they're in second place in the AL East. They're going to the postseason. Twins clinched the second wild card spot, so it'll be real interesting to see how things develop as these playoffs progress. Aaron Judge voted one of the most popular players, if not the most popular players. We like that. We like seeing that. Yankees won 6-1 over the Rays last night, by the way, at Yankee Stadium. So definitely we're happy about that. Let's see what the Yankees do. Let's see what they do. I still don't think they have nearly as much pressure. I don't think anybody has as much pressure on them as the Los Angeles Dodgers, considering the fact that you ain't been to the World Series. You haven't won the World Series rather since 1988. You got to get it done after the record season that you had before you went into that awful slump. You got to get it done. But something else is on my mind right now, and this spans beyond L.A. and New York and all of this other stuff. You know. The voice of L.A., somebody I consider the voice of L.A., Mr. Bill Plaschke of the Los Angeles Times, my buddy. The lead is beautiful. It's a capital, huge letter U. And then the word scandal again. And SC is capitalized. The U is 4 times bigger than the SC. But it's USC again, meaning USC. U, and then it says scandal. Scandal again. USC scandal again. This one is not as serious as this summer's revelations about medical school dean Dr. Carmen Buffalito, and the penalties won't be as harsh as those that led to the Reggie Bush devastation, but these alleged broken rules are sounding like a broken record. A resounding USC success is being charged with cheating again. The USC basketball program is in enough trouble that the team could be cratered again. 7 years after its basketball franchise was being rocked by a payoff mess involving player O.J. Melo, the school must now deal with the case of associate head coach Tony Bland, who was arrested Tuesday on federal charges of conspiracy to commit bribery, soliciting a bribe, and wire fraud. Bland was in a group of 10 men charged in U.S. District Court in New York as part of an investigation into fraud and corruption in college basketball. 3 other assistant coaches from other schools, an investment advisor, a clothing manufacturer, and 3 Adidas executives were among an indicted group that represents the tip of the iceberg into a probe into what June H. Kim, acting U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, called, quote, the dark underbelly of college basketball. Here's my whole point. I understand USC is USC, but what the hell have they done from a college basketball standpoint? Can anybody refresh my memory? Because I'll be damned if I remember. I mean, I'm just looking at it and I'm saying, first of all, Tony Bland, we hope that he's not guilty because these guys are looking at 80 years in prison. Him, Chuck Person, and a couple of others. Chuck Person at Auburn. And I'm looking at it from the standpoint that, you know what? How is it that you got yourself in this situation coming from Southern California? Now, forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't want to be disrespectful. Andy Enfield has done a pretty decent job. Last 2 years, first round NCAA tournament, got to the second round last year. It was 21-13 in 2015, 2016, 26-10 last year. But, ladies and gentlemen, I look down the line, and I don't see any Final Four appearances here. I mean, they did advance to a regional final in 2000, 2001 with Henry Bibby as its coach. They got to a regional semifinal in 2006, 2007 with Tim Floyd as its coach. But I'm just looking down the list here. I mean, of all the years that USC has been in existence, I see a loss for the national semifinal. That would mean a Final Four appearance, and I don't even know if it existed back then because that was 1953-54. What the hell are you doing that you need to go up and end up getting yourself arrested by the FBI? Are you kidding me? What? I mean, this ain't Duke or Kansas. I mean, as egregious as it may be, I mean, damn, when I heard Louisville, all right, 2 national championships by Rick Pitino, 7 trips to the Final Four by Rick Pitino. His name wasn't mentioned, but clearly Louisville made some kind of violation because supposedly they paid off some dude, Mr. Bowen, some big-time high school player, that was his family was ended up getting 6 figures, and, he was on his way to Louisville. Now, let me tell y'all something. This is not news to me. This stuff has been going on for decades. So welcome to the party, FBI. But I got to tell you something. How the hell are you getting yourself in trouble and you an assistant coach at USC? What have you done as a basketball program? I mean, to be associated with an FBI investigation and indictments by the U.S. Department of Justice. What the hell is going on? This is unbelievable. I'm like, this ain't Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan State. Well, I mean, this ain't one of those schools. It's USC, Oklahoma State, Auburn. Say Cam Newton playing football. This is a basketball program. Charles Barkley been going since the early 80s. How in the hell are you getting yourself in trouble? What the hell have you done as a program? I mean, whatever money you gave away, I mean, my God, you stole. I mean, what the hell? This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, I'm shell shocked. I truly am. How are you getting yourself in trouble coming from a basketball program that's USC? We ain't talking about football now. We ain't talking about football at USC. We talking basketball. I mean, you got to be kidding me. This doesn't make any sense to me. Zero. And by the way, as I stated yesterday, Rick Pitino had to go. You cannot have a Hall of Fame basketball coach directly, indirectly, tacitly, or otherwise associated with an FBI investigation that leads to the arrest of 4 people where an investigation is still pending. More bodies are scheduled to fall. And this is following up you being involved in or your program rather being involved in a sex for play scandal. And prior to that, some woman was sentenced to 7 years in jail because she tried to extort you for money because you was having an extramarital affair. You just can't do that and be a leader of men at a college basketball program. It just can't happen. It just can't happen. Lord have mercy.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let's get back to the phones right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's get right to it. Let's go to Max in Brooklyn. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me. What's up, Max?
Hey, Steve. How's it going?
I'm good. Go ahead, man.
Couple of pointers on the OBJ thing. It's making me sick getting text messages and WhatsApp messages all day long saying the Giants should now trade OBJ. Isn't that stupid? Isn't that stupid? It's just stupid. It's moronic. I've never heard of such a thing. And you're talking about a talent, top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. The guy, listen, he's immature. We know that.
But Max, let me interrupt you and ask you a question, okay? What does it say to you about people who's willing to go that far over something like this? Do you see what I'm talking about? The issue of control and how that can vex certain athletes because what seems to be the most innocuous thing imaginable is blown to such exorbitant proportions that it makes them sick to their stomach. Do you see where I was getting with that?
I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with it as control. I just think it's stupid people saying stupid things. But for example, how when you have a talent like that, I'm sorry. His immaturity is one thing, but you don't see him. This is something that no one's talking about. You don't see him saying, hey, throw me the damn ball, or throwing his team under the bus, which you've seen from prima donna wide receivers in the past. That's not what he's doing. He's just making himself look like a little fool, but that's it. So it just pisses me off that when you hear these stupid things from people.
Thank you very much. I get your point. Now, I understand. I appreciate it. Let's go to Mac in New York. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Mac?
Hey, Stephen A. I always appreciate what you have to say, whether I agree with it or not. Two things. You tied two things together there. The assistant coaches at USC and Auburn and the guys who are in the also-rans, they're not thinking about titles. They're thinking about their paycheck and the money that they're putting into the bank.
Well, I know that.
Behind the scenes. So you have to say, where are their priorities? They aren't thinking about bringing USC or Auburn or whoever else is in this thing a national championship. And it goes back to LeBron. I come a retired exec from the sales industry. What happens is you have these type A personality guys who bring home the bacon and knock the big deals out, but then they act stupid and they do silly things. And the question comes down, it's a scale. Do you want this guy out there producing for you, or is it such an embarrassment? Is it such an embarrassment that, you know what, I can go find another A performer killer to get my sales done?
Okay, we understand that, but here's the point. You finding another Odell Beckham Jr. right now?
Well, you know something? You have to ask. Before Odell came out of LSU, right?
Yes.
Was the NFL starving for wide receivers?
Well, we're not talking about the NFL. We're talking about the New York Giants because all 32 teams don't get to have the same player. So the point is, they're the ones who have him now. Do you see anybody that can replace Odell Beckham Jr. for the Giants?
Well, and I would say to you, you take a look at Sterling Shepard. You take a look at the guys. No, they're not there to be the Odell Beckham. But the question is, and Stephen, I got to ask you this: you've been following sports for 25 years, right?
Covering it professionally, yes.
Yeah, guy gets down on his hands and knees in the end zone.
I don't like it. Mac. I think it's immature. I think it's juvenile. I think it's embarrassing and disgraceful. All of those things, I totally agree. But is that a reason to get rid of him?
But the whole thing about, are they trying to control him? No. What they're trying to do is what a good manager does, which is say, hey, come on in here.
No. You're missing my point. I never abhorred what they did because they spoke out against him. That's all they did. I'm talking about these people who want him gone because of it. That's who I was talking about. I'm saying that's ridiculous.
Respect for a guy like John Mara, right? Who says, you know what? McAdoo can't do it. Jerry Reese can't do it. I need to ask this guy to come into my office and have that a man-to-man conversation.
Absolutely. I got no problems with that.
And that's not a question of Mara trying to put control over LeBron. It's trying to say, hey, you know, the Giant organizations have some principles. The Giant organizations have some ways of doing their business.
Well, see, you and I are mixing messages. I don't have any disagreement with what you're saying. What I'm trying to say is that it becomes problematic where because of this and because he decided to go to Miami to party the week of a playoff game, even though it was an off day, you have people talking about getting rid of him. Say he needs to mature and grow up. Say that his actions, you know what, enough's enough. Get your act together. Vilify him in the court of public opinion. But don't act like he needs to be gone when he shows up to work. And he's the one individual you can rely upon to perform when it really, really counts. You can't do that. You can't do that.
I respectfully agree with you, but what I'm saying to you is is that it is not just the end zone thing in Philadelphia. It's not just the Miami boat trip. It's the thing with Josh Norman. It's the thing attacking the kicking stand. The question is, there's a pattern there that says
there's a pattern there that he's emotional, Mac. There's a pattern there that he's emotional. You have to admit, even though it was not wise for him to get into it with Josh Norman, that level of competitive fervor is something that we can live with. You don't do what he did, there's no doubt. But he and an enemy were going at it violently, physically, emotionally. And the flip, you've got to rein it in to the point where you're not doing something to the detriment of the team. That's fair. But at the same time, you want that passion when that man is out on the field. You want that man to go at it. You certainly want that man to go at somebody that's going after him.
Do you want the guy who's going after the kicking stand, though? Really?
Come on. Does it really hurt you? I'm not saying I would advise it. I'm not saying I approve of it. What I'm trying to say, Mac, is that you're really going to tell me it hurt you to the point where you wouldn't mind seeing him in another uniform because of it?
No. So here's the question, Stephen, and I thank you for the time that you've given me. The question isn't a question of do I need him to be on my team. The big question comes next is, do I make an investment in this man with the pattern of behavior that he's had to put a 3 or 5 year deal on him and make him the highest paid wide receiver?
That's a legitimate question. That's a legitimate question. But the flip side to it is that even with his antics, he is still one of the top 3 elite receivers in the entire game. Do you ignore that?
And if I'm John Mara and if I'm Jerry Reese, I can say now, all of a sudden,
all right, Mac. You lost me at Jerry Reese. Jerry Reese, no. I don't want to hear his name in the equation right now. Get an offensive line. His priority, he should be thinking about himself. Mara, no, that he's owner. But Jerry Reese, no, he should be thinking about himself. You got to get an offensive line. Mac, I got to run. I appreciate this call so much. Thank you. Let's go to Carlos in Cali. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Question, Mr. Smith.
Carlos, we couldn't hear you at the top. Start over. Go ahead, buddy.
Yes, sir, Mr. Smith. Just had a question concerning the issue concerning this college thing that's going on. Mm-hmm. How much does this affect youth sports in the communities because of this issue? Because I've noticed
it might. I mean, when you think about it, the connection. Oh, listen, AAU is not what it used to be. You've got runners, you've got hanger-ons, you've got individuals that are steering kids towards specific programs, specific agents, specific sneaker companies. All of those things are relevant. The FBI has contacted Nike and let them know that they want to have a conversation with them as well. So Nike has now become a part of the investigation. We already know Adidas is an agent that represents Kristaps Porzingis right here in New York. Mr. Andy Miller, his office was raided by the FBI on Monday. And the belief is, from what I'm hearing, I don't know this to be true, but the belief is, from what I'm hearing, is that the FBI thinks that he had something to do with this investigation as well, because these coaches who were getting paid by somebody. And so we don't know what role, if any, Andy Miller has played. We just know that the coaches in question, Chuck Person out of Auburn, Emmanuel Richardson out of Arizona, Lamont Evans out of Oklahoma State, and, of course, Tony Bland right here out of USC, we know that they have been arrested and indicted on multiple charges that has them looking at up to 80 years in prison. Bribery conspiracy, solicitation of bribes, honest services fraud conspiracy, honest service fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and travel act conspiracy. We know that. And so as a result of it, I would imagine that it's going to have a profound impact on youth sports, because these guys coming from impoverished communities looking to get paid off before they can get to the pros. It's going to be harder to do something like that because people are going to have to worry about jail time now. It's not just about an NCAA sanction or investigation. It's going to be jail time. So you got to worry about that. You got to worry about those kind of things. So parents are going to be called upon to be more actively involved. Coaches on a high school level are going to be called upon to be more actively involved. And coaches are going to be more responsible in terms of hovering over their programs to make sure that people are on an up and up in terms as it pertains to what they're supposed to be doing. Of course, that's going to impact youth sports. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I just noticed through the years the coaching in the high school level, the travel ball level, it's all been watered down because of them, the way they behave now. And now that this came out, I hope this fixes it.
Well, you know what really, you know what the real problem is? Whether it's AAU coaches, to a lesser degree high school coaches, the runners, the hanger-ons, the agents, the sneaker companies, and everybody else. Here's the bottom line. When you hear about the NBA signing a $24 billion deal over 9 years or whatever, when you hear about the NFL signing a deal where they're generating $14 billion annually and all of this stuff, there's more money associated with the world of sports than ever before. Everybody's salivating at the opportunity to get a piece of the pie. And as a result, salacious behavior or unsavory behavior, rather, is running rampant. And I think that's what the FBI is talking about, which is why they stepped in and they took it out of the hands of the NCAA. NCAA didn't even know that the FBI was investigating this stuff until the very last minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. You got a great show.
Thank you so much.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
I got distracted reading a fantastic article, Greg Popovich, written by Kevin Arnovitz. He's an ESPN staff writer. Pretty damn good one, by the way. The article read, it's entitled, Why President Trump Triggers Greg Popovich. And I'm just reading from some of the quotes that Greg Popovich has given. Let me just throw this out to y'all. This is Greg Popovich. 3 days after Trump was elected president, he says, I'm still sick to my stomach. And not basically because the Republicans won or anything, but the disgusting tenor and tone and all the comments that have been xenophobic, homophobic, racist, misogynistic. And I live in that country where half the people ignored all that to elect someone. That's the scariest part of the whole thing to me. That was one quote. Another quote, one day after Trump's inauguration and hours after the Women's March took place in dozens of American cities, Pop declared at a pregame media scrum that few parents would tolerate their kids articulating Trump's brand of prejudice. Quote, all the things he said during the campaign, if our children would have said it, we would have grounded them for 6 months, without a doubt. Another quote, after Trump fired Comey, Popovich says, I feel like there's a cloud, a pall over the whole country in a paranoid, surreal sort of way that's got nothing to do with the Democrats losing the election. This isn't a visual. He's at a game show. And everything that happens begins and ends with him, not our people or our country. Another quote. After Trump's tweets last week against Steph Curry for the Golden State Warriors, Pop, disgusting, comical, like a sixth grader who was going to have a party in his backyard and he finds out somebody might not come. So he disinvites him. Pop then decried the example that he believes the president has set. Quote, our country is an embarrassment in the world. This is an individual who actually thought that when people held arms during the games that they were doing it to honor the flag. That's delusional, absolutely delusional, but it's what we have to live with. So you got a choice. We can continue to bounce our heads off the wall with this conduct, or we can decide that the institutions of our country are more important, that people are more important, that the decent America that we all thought we had and we want is more important, and get down to the business at the grassroots level and do what we have to do. Those are some of the quotes that Greg Popovich has said about our president. I just thought I'd read them because they resonate. 866-729 ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. By the way, before I say that, let me say this. Dwyane Wade is in Cleveland now. Carmelo Anthony is in OKC. I believe OKC had a more valuable acquisition in Melo than Cleveland did in D. Wade. You know why? Because Cleveland was going to the finals anyway, with or without D. Wade, and they were going to be expected to lose in the finals to the Golden State Warriors anyway. Whereas in the case of Carmelo Anthony, you could have made an argument that the Oklahoma City Thunder were going to get bounced out in the first round. Now I believe they're going to the conference finals. That's how I view it. Chris in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, Stephen A.
What's up?
Forgive me, I have something I wanted to bring up regarding the protest, but I have a question regarding the NBA.
Yep.
Yesterday, I was watching Anderson Cooper. You know, he's on CNN, and Spike Lee was on there along with it. I'm sorry?
Of course. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I was listening to Spike Lee, and he brought up something that really resonated with me, Stephen A. I didn't really think about it. You watching over this past weekend with the whole owners joining unity with their players and they're locking arms and whatnot. But Spike Lee asked the panel a question. He was like, well, the owners are being hypocritical because the person who started this whole thing, being Colin Kaepernick, still doesn't have a job. So that really resonated with me, and I didn't really think about that, Stephen A. So I'm like, I took a step back, and I'm like, wow, that's the truth, though, because the guy who started this whole thing still doesn't have a job. Mm-hmm. So that really resonated. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know if you got a chance.
I totally agree. There's nothing to add. I totally agree with Spike Lee on that point. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Okay, let me jump into the NBA real quick. So as far as watching First Take, talking with Max, and you brought up this may be the best team structurally that LeBron has had since he's been in the NBA. Do you believe, with that being said, this puts more pressure on LeBron to win it this year, knowing he potentially may leave Cleveland?
Well, I don't know if it puts more pressure. I think it puts more pressure on LeBron James because he's got 5 NBA Finals losses on his resume. How much more pressure do you need than that? You lost in the NBA Finals 5 times. 5 times, man.
That's true, Stephen.
You know, that's what it comes down to. For me, 5 losses in the NBA Finals. Why should you have a 6, particularly with 2 starting lineups at your disposal? I don't see why. I got to go, Chris. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and SiriusXM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
I remember this beat was playing right here on the show Empire, and Frida Gatz was debating, emceeing and not emceeing, but she was battling against Hakeem Lyon. She said, okay, we all know your mommy was a hustler, but you not. You're crazy if you think you're even touching her. Oh, it was special. That was a nice battle right there on that show that night. It was smooth, no doubt. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Back to the phone calls we go. Chris in Brooklyn. Go ahead, buddy.
What's up, Stephen? Let me kick a little flavor in your ear right now, if you will allow me to.
I might not, but go ahead. Take your chances.
Okay. That was a good song. Good beat, by the way.
Go ahead.
Listen, I was listening to your last caller, and he was saying how Colin Kaepernick still didn't have a job. Well, I'm a lifelong 49er fan that lives in New York. Long story. But everyone forgets that Colin Kaepernick didn't win a starting job from Chip Kelly, okay? And with the whole kneeling thing, on the second point, the whole kneeling issue, which I agree with and I think was a great cause, I think he was ill-equipped and not responsible enough to carry the issue even further. Because if you're going to have a silent protest and then you wear the crazy socks that you did, then you have Fidel Castro on a shirt, then you don't vote, okay, and then you want to stand up in the end, and you don't want to meet with the Oakland Police Department, to me, that's somebody who's not equipped for such a big burden on their shoulders.
Okay, you can make that argument, but let me say this to you. You're talking about Colin Kaepernick, right?
Yes.
But let me retort. There's a column in the website, The Undefeated, that caters to African-American issues for ESPN.com, right? And an article right now is written by Mike Wise. I'd encourage all of y'all to go online and read that. And what it says here, the headline is John Carlos and John Wooten know Kaepernick's road is a long one. So listen to what you're saying, and you're pointing to Colin Kaepernick and his behavior, right? And we see the fallout from it, right, Chris? He doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
What kind of a man was John Carlos and Tommy Smith? Think about that. They didn't do anything. They went, they represented their nation. They won medals. They were on a medal stand and they raised their fist. And because of that, they were ostracized. So my point to you is that even though we look at a Colin Kaepernick, and you could talk about the pigs on the socks, which was not wise and not good, the Fidel Castro T-shirt, just stupid. We get all of that. The flip side to it is that how dare folks act like that's the reason he's being ostracized now? When history shows us, even if he didn't do those things, he would have been ostracized just because he took such a public stance against oppression and police brutality. Because we have individuals in our history who never did such things. And look at how they were ostracized. When is the rest of America going to reach a point where they stop trying to make excuses for the vilification of individuals who are socially conscientious enough and love their communities enough and love the less fortunate amongst us enough to bring attention to their plight and not punish them for it? When are we going to bring more attention to those who would rather punish you and ostracize you for telling the truth rather than punishing them? When are we going to get to that point? Stephen A.,
I really don't think the guys that you described in the Olympics, though, they took that responsibility and they didn't do anything to go against.
I agree. No. I agree with you. I'm not disputing it. But that's my point. They didn't do anything to go against the quote-unquote establishment. They raised a fist in order to bring attention to the plight of the deprived and the disenfranchised in our nation. And because of that, they were ostracized. So what does it say about the people who have ostracized them all of these years? What does it say about them? Because one can make the argument that those people still exist because that's what's happening to Colin Kaepernick now. Now, it might be more justifiable in people's mind that it's happening to Colin Kaepernick now, but I'm saying it mirrors to some degree what happened to those individuals, which is why that article was written by Mike Wise in The Undefeated. What do you say to those people who have chosen to ostracize those and treat them as if they were Colin Kaepernick when they never conducted themselves that way? The ramifications were still similar.
Yes, I agree with that. I'm not saying you're wrong about that. I'm a white guy from New York, and I don't agree with any of those people who ostracize anybody for a good cause. I don't want to see a black. I'm
just saying, let's focus on it.
Beat up by anybody.
But I'm not accusing you of that, Chris. I'm not accusing you of anything negative. I'm simply saying, and I got to run right now. All I'm trying to say to you is that instead of calling up and talking about how unwise Colin Kaepernick may have been, when are we going to focus on the transgressions of those looking to exact punishment and ramifications towards somebody who is righteous? Because history has shown us that's what we have a propensity to do as a nation instead of looking at things from a fair-minded perspective. That's all I'm saying. Let's go to Mary in Jersey. You're live at Stephen A. Go ahead, Mary.
Hi, Stephen A.
How are you?
Fine. One question and one point I want to make.
Go ahead.
I'm a longtime Knicks fan, and I'm wondering if we as Knicks fans are going to be patient and have reasonable expectations for this new team and allow it to be developed and grow.
It's going to be hard, Mary, because it's going to take some time, and you don't have any talent other than Porzingis. So it's going to take time.
And the other point is that I appreciated Carmelo coming to New York. I wish him the best. And I do believe that at this point in his career that he will make whatever adjustment is necessary to be successful. I believe all three of those guys are hungry, and in your words, they are coming.
Thank you very much, Mary. I appreciate that call. I like that. Thank you so much. Let's go to Lawrence in Texas. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Lawrence.
Hi, Stephen A. I've talked to you a couple times about the flag, disabled veteran, all that stuff like that, about the kneeling and stuff like that. Now, everybody just needs to agree to disagree with their point of views. The point.
So do me a favor. Let me stop you right there. Do me a favor. State your point. Don't call up here lecturing folks, sir. People hear that all the time. We got it. We got it the other two times you called up to say that. What's your point? Because I don't want to lecture my listeners. Everybody's entitled to their beliefs and their feelings. What's your point?
Okay, my point is, I'm Hispanic. I've been racially profiled. I've been messed with so many times by the police. My thing is, athletes, all these people with the power, you can make a difference. Rally everybody together in the community. We have to make the police accountable.
I got you.
If you had twice a month to, the celebrities, you say, hey, let's go up to our local, police stations. Let's make these people accountable for their actions.
Then you're wrong. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop you right now. You're wrong. You can't go up to just police stations and do that. There's plenty of God-fearing, good, decent law enforcement officials who honor their code to protect and serve. I'm not going to do that. I appreciate the call, Lawrence. Thank you so much, but I'm not going to do that. When police transgress, you point it out. But you don't just go up to police stations like, oh, my Lord, everywhere we go, police are being corrupt. Police are violating us. Police are harming us. There are rogue police officers out there. Police who have racist and prejudicial tendencies, who are victimizing the depraved and the impoverished and the desolate amongst us. And they should be called out and dealt with harshly. But the vast majority of police officers throughout this nation have proven to be individuals who care about this country, its citizens, and honor their code and their sworn oath to protect and serve. And what I will not do is sit up there and encourage folks to go march from police station to police station as if the majority of police officers are rogue, because that is not factually correct. You got a few bad ones out there, no doubt, but not the majority. Let's find perspective. Talk to y'all in 22 hours. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.